we didn't even bring this up, but I'm telling you, somebody that could benefit the most out of all of this when it's all said and done, because no one will talk about him until probably week 1, is really Jake Ferguson. Because everyone's going to sleep on Jake Ferguson. No one's going to talk about it. He had a down year last year. And this move is going to totally put it to where it's like everyone's going to just talk about CD Pickens. They'll talk about the run game. They'll talk about the offensive linemen that were added in the draft. They'll talk about Dak being healthy. And Pickens being added, I think, does a lot to also where it's like Jake Ferguson's going to see a lot of great matchups. And just when he talked to us a couple of weeks ago at that home run derby, the way he was talking about how he knows that last year wasn't good enough and how much better he thinks he can be. I mean, he was a Pro Bowler 2 years ago. I think this could be a huge season for Jake Ferguson that will totally fly under the radar.
And the best place to tack, that Vic Fangio defense is in the middle of the field, especially when you have somebody like a Jake Ferguson. If he's going to be on Makuba, it's going to be over with for the young kid. Shout out to him. I like what he did at Texas, but come on, Jake Ferguson in the seam route is going to eat him alive. Y'all look up his tape. I know Footson already got his tape already down.
Cool.
Yeah, we talked about it.
I'm
sorry, go ahead,
No, I'm just enjoying the conversation because, I think John, let's just go right into it.
Yeah,
we're gonna do this when we do the whole roster rundown before like training camp and everything, guys. We want to spread these shows out, but I'm gonna just jump right into it. I did content, and like I said, who's gonna be that wide receiver 3 in the next person, and I think Sky I stole this from Sky. You feel decent. You sleep at night with Jalen Tolbert being your wide receiver 3. You think, but what if it is Jake Ferguson by default because it's comfortable for Dak? The matchups you could get versus like it's way easier to target linebackers in that seam, and it's just a healthier, it's a more seasoned throw, and it's more like this is a safe throw, and he's Ferguson at his best is a baller, right?
Yeah.
Could it be a change of pace receiver? So who do you guys think will be that other player? Because we think it's gonna be. I think Tolbert because they know Tolbert, and I think now Mingo.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Be open for competition, brother. That's not. I don't think wide receiver 3 is stamped. I think Tolbert may have the lead, but I think there's going to be competition at camp. I think there's.
Here's why I say, not to cut you off, Scott, but the only reason why I say we think it's open, but we're gonna have to get Pickens up to speed, and so the reason why I just lean Tolbert right now is because he's like this with Dak, and that matters. Knowing where you're supposed to be.
Trust me, I'm the one who said over than 5 to you. I was trying to explain to you about their connection, but that was free Pickens. Pickens here now. Here now. Pickens wide receiver 2, 1B, whatever the hell you want to call it, and CD Lamb. That 3 spot going to be open. Like I said, right now he may have the lead, but that is going to be a competition to me. But you brought up, you said, well, could it be Jake Ferguson? I do think there's 2 different conversations. I think there's wide receiver 3 conversation, and I think there's third option conversation. And Jake Ferguson is without a doubt right now the third option in the passing game. And I think he could have an explosive year because we talked about a little bit last week, where these guys are going to have, what they do best. It doesn't overlap. So CD Lamb can do outside things, slot things, and Pickens is going to do a lot of the deep stuff, and Ferguson is going to just chew up the middle of that defense, whether it's a seam shot. And don't get it twisted. He can take, something 10 yards and under and break tackles. He wasn't able to do that last year. If you go look at Jake Ferguson's advanced statistics and then go try to overlap it with the film, you'll see his yards per route receptions were down damn near 2 yards.
Yeah.
It was run down the field turnaround as Voch would say, but it was shorter because they just were afraid to drop back. They were afraid to use him a certain way. Then once Cooper Rush got in there, his numbers tanked. When he was with Dak, if you take his numbers with Dak and you put it over an entire 17-game season, he has a very similar year, except one area, the red zone. They stopped targeting him in the red zone. He led the NFL with tight ends in red zone targets in 23. He had 5 targets last year in the red zone. That's the biggest difference. Quarterback usage, red zone. Now that middle of the field is going to be open for Fergie. Yeah, as long as he's healthy, man, he's going to eat 700 to 800 yards, 6 to 8 touchdowns, easy.
Yeah. And just to echo that, go ahead, John. Go.
I was going to say the other receivers I think could change by game to game, whether you talk about it being Turpin, whether you talk about me and Mingo, or or Tolbert. I think Tolbert at the end of the year will be like, okay, if we're going to say we're going to be in this pretend world where everybody stays healthy and plays the entire season.
That's nothing healthy. Yeah.
To me, targets, number 1 will be CeeDee Lamb. Number 2 will be George Pickens. Number 3 will be Jake Ferguson. And then number 4 will be Tolbert. I mean, you just go back to when Ferguson had a fully healthy season, which is 2 years ago. And he was second on the team in targets that year. So CD had 181, which is obviously a ton. Ferguson was second at 102. And then Cooks was third at 81. So he had, 21 more targets than even Cooks did when Cooks was clearly their number 2 at that time. So yeah, if they all can stay healthy, I just think Ferguson, I mean, and then that's the other thing, like he is very Dak friendly. They've had a good rapport. They've been around each other a bunch. That's the guy that all quarterbacks really, if you have that type of tight end, when stuff breaks down, that's usually the safety net for a lot of quarterbacks.
Come on with it.
So that's why I'm saying if everybody stays healthy, Ferguson's targets are going to be there. It's going to be top 3 on this team still.
Most certainly, man. You're right on the money with it, man. When you are calling plays for a suspect offensive line like we had for the first few weeks, you're trying to protect the quarterback. So a lot of 3 steps, ball out. And as a tight end, you got to wait to clear the linebacker. So Dak didn't have that extra time, especially when you have 2 rookies starting that offensive line last year. So I'm thinking that with Connor Riley and Clayton Adams, they're gonna get my guy Ferguson busy this year.
Yeah, and I think the thing that I'll say with Ferguson is, and I'll be interested to see how many, because so this is in a clean world. Is there a dark horse that we're not talking about, right?
For option 3?
Yeah, not even for option 3. It could be. It don't have to be. It don't. Yeah, I was about to say it doesn't have to be option 3. It'd just be a guy that could be another guy. Yeah, that can make plays. And for me, it's gonna be Span Ford. I like Span Ford. I think he has some stuff. I'm not gonna go on the record and say he'll have a better year than Jake Ferguson. But the one thing that Span Ford adds to me is he's physical at the point, really good blocker. I thought he was a better blocker than Schoonmaker on film. Now depends on who you ask, but he was a good blocker when they had. I think Jake. How many games did Jake miss last year?
I say 3.
3. It was one game where it was like him. I think it might have been that Commanders game, and they had a few runs that they were able to hit on. And so
road,
with
Span Ford, the game should slow down a little bit better for him. And
he's just a big body, long. He's just a big body.
My guy would be Blue. If you're talking about who, I know he's a rookie, but I mean he just brings such a dynamic aspect to the offense that. If he doesn't fumble the rock, doesn't get hurt, and he shows that he can at least stick his nose in there on pass down, sometimes we're not asking him to block. How do you leave him off, right? So I would say Blue and a guy like maybe Turpin. Span Ford is just so far down the roster. I feel like he's going to need a lot to get up to be a difference maker, if that makes sense.
Oh, there's going to be a game or two where Kevontae Turpin puts up some big numbers. I mean, as long as he stays healthy, there's just going to be some games where they're just they're trying to take away Pickens and they're doing something else and trying to bracket CD, and then he's just going to be wide open down the seam. And they're just like, well, we're just going to take this all day long. So, but the problem, not the problem, but the thing that you run into there, though, is just that won't happen every game. And so that's why I'm saying, it wouldn't surprise me if from game to game, it's a different player who is that number 3 wide receiver in terms of production. But at the end of the season, though, I think that Tolbert will be the most consistent of that next group. But yeah, anybody after that, man, it's going to be tough to make this roster. Like the Paris Campbells, the Ryan Flanoys, who am I forgetting?
Jalen Brooks.
Holden.
Yeah. Some of those guys lost sponsors too. When you start talking about the wide receiver coach, Junior Adams, I'm quite sure he's going to want different ways to attack the game. So if these guys not on the same page, hey, sayonara.
I think what Turpin brings is in the same way that you have a change of pace running back, you have a change of pace receiver.
Let him cook.
Yeah.
I love that.
You like that?
Yeah, I love
that. Let's send that around it. Let's send that around the Cowboys community. Change of pace receiver.
Let that marinate a little bit, man, because you know what? People throw around gadget a lot, and it can come off very negative. And I don't think that's a bad thing to say about a Turpin. But I like the COP better. I like change of pace receiver better because I think it puts a little bit more respect on what he can do. Because don't get it twisted. In 2023, when that boy touched the ball on a jet sweep, he was gone. He was gone 15 yards. He was popping up. When he touched the ball out the backfield as a running back, 9 yards of pop. He was just killing dudes except for Vita Vea. Right? Vita Vea made him disappear when he hit the line of scrimmage because he was so small.
Hey, Sky, I'm gonna do you one better. So I was, I listened to a lot of stuff around the league. And so you know how the Rams, they brought in Devontae Adams, they brought in Puka Nacua, but people got to remember they paid Tutu Atwell. Okay. And come on now, let's go. They paid Tutu, and they paid him because I think Sean is kind of gonna be another trendsetter in that way. Is like he still is in the world of, hey, get a fast, smaller guy who can run after the catch, who can do a little bit of everything. And like Turpin is electric after the catch. He is special.
He got glasses this year. He got contacts, so he'll be able to see.
my comp for what Turpin could potentially be was Tutu Atwell in a Rams-like offense. If you go back a few weeks ago, I did a show breaking down the Rams offense. I just really think this, and I know people can say, well, Sky, with evidence. I just, in my gut, feel like we're going to be doing more of a modern situation. And Tutu Atwell and Turpin are very similar in stature. Tutu is a more refined wide receiver. Turpin is more unique in that he can run out the backfield, do the jet sweep things. But if you look at the usage in LA with Tutu Atwell, he fell in that 3-4 range, but he was a specialty receiver. When he was out there with a cup, with I don't care if it was Robinson or Puka, whomever, teams had to respect it. When Turpin's out there, teams going to have to oh, wait, we can't. They got to deal with Pickens. Teams are going to have to respect, oh, wait, we got to deal with CeeDee Lamb. So Turp might actually have more room to maneuver in this specific offense if we lean into actually utilizing him that way.
So I think that's dope, Scott, because, I was like, I'm just finding, like, I think every year, John Law, let's talk about, like, who could be, and I think it could be Kevontae Turpin. I mean, John just said it. Now, are we going to say, hey, Turpin every game will have 5 catches? Nope. But he could go a stretch of, where how did Turpin get 150 yards? I mean, whatever the number is, like, you know what I mean? Oh, he had 3 long, crazy plays because they're playing cover 2. Yeah, facts, Law. And they just release him up the seam and they keep forgetting to find him. So, and you said it, Scott, he has receiver chops.